Today is January 27th, 2022. This is Mordecai, host of the updates, bringing you your daily Elden Ring update. There is a bunch of news about Elden Ring today, and that is because the Overture of Elden Ring has finally released. If you don't know what this is, I talked about it a few months back, but essentially it's a 128-page mook written in Japanese and published by Kadokawa, FromSoftware's parent company. The mook goes over what Elden Ring is based on the network test, and also contains a detailed look at all of FromSoftware's previous titles in recent years. But the part that we're concerned with today is the interview with Hidetaka Miyazaki, as it contains some new information about Elden Ring. I was gonna talk about this yesterday since it just came out, but I had not gotten the relevant parts translated from Japanese yet. Now that I've had the chance though, it's time we go over the new info Miyazaki gave us about Elden Ring. Starting with the fact that Elden Ring will have a Respec system, meaning you can reallocate your stats later down the line. Miyazaki warns us, however, that it will have some limitations. I'm guessing it'll be similar to Dark Souls 3, where you can do it only a certain amount of times per playthrough, or that you need a Covenant item to get it started. And speaking of, Covenants won't be a thing in Elden Ring, according to Miyazaki. In trying to make multiplayer more accessible, there won't be any Covenants in a traditional sense. So, no Sunbros for you, unfortunately. But on the bright side, apparently you can change your character's appearance at any time in the game with no restrictions. This is something the Demon Souls remake added as a feature, however it made you spend 15k souls each time, but it sounds like in Elden Ring you'll be able to do it at any time for no cost. And Miyazaki says the reason they did this is because they initially wanted to have your player character change appearances naturally after going through traumatic fights. However, they didn't want to force this upon the player, so they gave you the choice of freedom instead. Additionally, Miyazaki tells us that there's apparently more than 50 unique types of spirit summons in the game, of which we've only seen a couple of thus far, and they were quite helpful in dealing with packs of enemies. Later on, Miyazaki goes on to say that the open field in the game will be 10 times the size of what we could explore in the network test. He clarifies that you don't need to explore every single corner, but instead, the vast field is there to give you the feeling of being on an adventure. Furthermore, he says that they've made sure to keep the proportion of mandatory content required to beat the game much lower than previous titles. So, the side paths and quests will be where you can find a larger volume of content if you so desire. At this part of the interview, Miyazaki jokingly adds that the extra freedom gives them the excuse to prepare more ruthless encounters for the player as well. At the same time though, they've increased item visibility in the game so that if you're trying to explore every corner of the map, you'll have an easier time finding loot. And speaking of loot, Miyazaki says that item crafting was added as a new feature in order to discourage people from constantly going back to the hub to get materials and such. This is also why they've made the horse feel more arcadey as opposed to more realistic, and also adding the Statue of Marika retry points near hard areas. All of this, Miyazaki explains, is to reduce stress for the players so they can focus more on the adventure at hand. Now, gameplay and world details aside, Miyazaki also touches up on some lore. Firstly, he says that the creature behind Godfrey is called the Chancellor's Beast. This is the beast we see with Godfrey in all official artworks and even that one painting in the game. So it's likely that they were quite an inseparable duo back in their prime. As for us, the Tarnished, the guidance of grace gives us immortality and a chance at a new life every time we die. However, this does not apply to the demigods, as Miyazaki says that the immortality of the demigods is due to the fact that the Elden Ring has been stripped of its Death of Destiny, whatever that means. Later on, he also confirms that the moon has an important role in the story and world of Elden Ring, stating that if you've ever played their previous games, you'll love the moon in this story. And as many people have already pointed out, it seems like the Elden Ring logo can kinda be spotted when looking up at the sky at night. So we'll have to find out what that's all about. Anyway, Miyazaki also said some other interesting facts that I'm just gonna go over really quickly. Number 1, magic isn't flashy by design, as each spell is associated to a symbol that highlights its lineage. Number 2. Many of the key bosses and characters will be very verbose and vocal, and I think the two we've already seen are living proof of that statement. Number 3. Miyazaki says he likes to sneak in Japanese references whenever he can, and that's why they have a samurai armor in the game. And I hope this is one of the starting class armors, as it might be my favorite one they've shown so far. Number 4. Miyazaki also says that they tried to emphasize the feeling of desolate romance, a bright and colorful world that appeared to be less monotonous, which I think they achieved well, as the world feels a lot more lively and radiant than Dark Souls. Number 5. He confirmed that flails will indeed be weapons that we can use. And finally, the last thing is this image from the mook. It's a concept art depicting the player character in this lake facing what looks to be the Raya Lucaria castle. It's the only new Elden Ring image in this entire mook, but it's a really cool looking piece. I hope it's part of the Elden Ring art book that's coming along with a special edition of the game next month. But yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of new info from the Miyazaki interview part of the mook. Also, I want to give a huge shout out to the folks who helped translate this from Japanese. If you'd like to read it yourself, you can buy the digital version from Amazon Japan, but you will need a Japanese account and also a Japanese IP address to buy it from there. Honestly, this whole interview ended up being more informative than I thought, but we're gonna have to do this all over again because an even bigger Miyazaki interview is coming in the 18-page Game Informer cover story that's dropping tomorrow. So stay tuned and I'll see you then. For now, this has been your daily Elden Ring update for January 27th, 2022.